To my Momentum Monday series. I hope that my post on the YouTube space, whatever the place you post stuff, brought you here, or maybe you come here from somewhere else, but wherever you are coming from, welcome. And so I am including a series for the next, we'll see, 4 to 5 weeks about momentum that's going to be posted on Mondays, and this is the first one. And so, first of all, why am I talking about momentum? The reason I'm talking about momentum and the reason I'm focusing on it is because you, as a survivor of abuse, regardless of the type of abuse you have survived, I am certain that there have been days or times where you have felt stuck. And so, a lot of times, it's not really about motivation, right? A lot of people think, well, if I were just motivated enough, I would do X, Y, Z. The challenge for abuse survivors is really building momentum, right? And so if we think about what is momentum, it basically is like a gradual increase in speed or force. When you build up that momentum, you have the speed and the force and the power to move and to go. And that can be really difficult for somebody who has survived abuse. Before I go on, let me just introduce myself. My name is Dr. Felicia, and I'm a licensed psychologist. My website is skillsetcounseling.com. That is the name of my practice, as well as my YouTube channel. And part of what I focus on is the recovery from abuse, mostly spiritual abuse, but I also cover other types of abuse. And you will find that there are some notable similarities amongst the various types of abuse. So, back to what I talked about momentum. So, first of all, why can it be so hard as an abuse survivor to get momentum? So, I want you to think about that. Think about a time when you really had some difficulty building momentum. And I want you to think, what happened? What was the thing that you were trying to build momentum with? Maybe if it wasn't even a thing, maybe it was just building momentum in your life. Well, part of the difficulty with building momentum is how your agency had really taken a hit when you had been in that abusive environment. You see, abusive people love to inject doubt into a lot of things. And so think about it, if you're going to build momentum into something, at some point you got to kind of become automatic, right? And you have to be at the point where you question less and just do more. But that can be really hard if you are not even used to making certain decisions like that, right? And so that could be a reason. Another reason why building momentum can be difficult is that in abusive environments, people that excel, people that are doing well, are punished for it, right? And so I'm sure that you can think of a time or a situation where you were building up momentum in something, and then maybe the floor or the rug rather was yanked out from under you. I think about um, just different stories that people have told me about things that they loved that they were building momentum in. Maybe it was like a hobby, or maybe it was going to school, or maybe it was something related to like fitness or a sport. And then all of a sudden, that thing was yanked away from them from the abuser. Maybe they were pulled off a team or an extracurricular activity, or maybe because of that abusive environment, they had to move a lot and really did not have opportunities to build momentum. And so if you have been in those types of situations, you really have to fight against the scarcity mindset. And I also talk about that in another video. But basically, if you are going through life and you have a difficult time believing that good things are going to last or safe things are going to last, it's going to be really difficult to build momentum. Think about it. Why would you put time, effort, and energy into something if it's going to be taken away from you? Completely valid. I completely understand that. There's nothing wrong with you for thinking that way. However, the way that we overcome those beliefs a lot of times is through our actions. And so this series on Momentum Mondays is going to focus on what you as an abuse survivor can do to build momentum. Okay. So the first thing, and all of them also are going to begin with the letter M. I find that doing things like that can help us remember more. So the first thing we're going to do is movement. Okay. So I want you to think about movement. And how can you incorporate movement into your day? Now, you might be thinking, well, what does that have to do with building momentum? It actually has a lot to do with it. Um, just think about something you would like to do physically. Maybe it is taking a walk or riding your bike, doing some stretching, whatever it is. I want you to think about a type of movement that you want to engage in today. Okay. Um, and so when you think about that, what you want to do, I want you to make sure that whatever you pick is not linked to being productive. A lot of times when you survive abuse, you tend to tie your worth to either like productivity or something external. So your worth, your identity is based on like what you can provide for others. Those are the messages that we get from abusive environments. So to counteract that, I want you to do some movement that you enjoy. So what is something you would love to do? I know that depending on where you are, you may be experiencing cold weather right now. And so think about that. But also, it doesn't, you don't have to be outside for a long time. You can dress, obviously dress appropriately, dress warmly, everything. And then, just go outside for a few minutes. Maybe you walk one direction for 5 minutes and then you walk back in the opposite direction for 5 minutes, and boom, you've gotten your movement out of the way. And you've gotten exposure to nature. You've been outside, you're getting vitamin D. It's very important to, do those things. But I want you to think about a movement that you would like to engage in. And I would like for you to do it today. So it could be walking. If you have a pet, it could include walking your pet. It could include dancing. For some people, they just really enjoy dancing. So maybe you can put on some music and dance. You could hula hoop, whatever it is. But I want you to make sure that it is something that is driven by what you want to do. I don't want you to do this movement from a place of pressure, like I have to do this or else, or you know, looking at it from perhaps the way you would have looked at it in that either in that abusive environment or in that abusive relationship. Another thing that's very powerful about movement is that it teaches us to be present in our bodies. A lot of times when people go through abuse, the last place that they want to be in is in their body, feeling the difficult feelings and the difficult physical sensations that can come from being in an abusive environment. And this doesn't necessarily have to do with physical abuse. Just the fact that you have survived abuse or surviving abuse, you've dealt with sure. Just stresses to your body. It could be tensing your muscles or clenching your muscles a lot because you are tense and you don't even realize it. And so movement helps you reclaim that, excuse me, that safety in your body and that agency, even though you may not feel that way. Okay. And so you get to move your body in a way that you choose for the amount of time that you choose to. So that is going to be the first series. The first action in the series is movement. I would love to hear from you all in the comments. What did you choose for movement? Let me know. It could be something as simple as just getting out of bed and spending 5 minutes stretching. And there's so many videos out here on YouTube that just are dedicated to stretching. And a lot of people, maybe underestimate stretching, but stretching is really good for your body. So find some sort of movement and let me know how it goes in the comments. All right. My website is skillsetcounseling.com. You can go there to get more information about my practice and services. And I hope you all have a wonderful day that's filled with peace. Bye bye.